on the scene, that he made regular rounds of the church, that his DNA may or may not have been there because of the rounds, and he may, in fact, have been one of the people who stole things from the body and perhaps left other DNA evidence. So who knows? I don't know at this point.
Now, they described that they found the Maury book, The Ultimate Evil, in his closet. What do you make of that?
Will you repeat that again, please?
Yeah, the sheriff reported that they found Maury's book, The Ultimate Evil, in Stephen Blake Crawford's closet. What do you make of that?
Well, being that he was a security guard there, he is part of the history of what happened at the church at that time. It's not too surprising that he would have an interest in anything that was published regarding what he was part of, one way or the other. So whether or not that indicates that he was a raving maniac who wanted to get all the information he could about the glorious time that he had committing this murder, or whether or not he was simply a security guard who wanted to collect information about his career, I have no idea.
Do you find it odd that the sheriff's department would make such a bold statement as to say, well, okay, now this case is closed, it's solved, and it's done with this one suicide?
I think it's very odd. I do.
Yeah.
And like I said, why, if the DNA evidence was not available to them 40-some-odd years ago, but the handprint could have been corroborated with everyone at the scene, and of course, the security guard is one of the very first people they should have checked. Why did they wait so long to serve the warrant on the Crawford guy?
That's true. We had DNA in the 90s. Yeah, we had DNA in the 90s, OJ, right? So why didn't they do this back then? You know?
Well, they didn't have it back in 74.
Right, no, but in the 90s we've had it. It's 2018. Yeah, we've had it.
You know, I can also speculate that perhaps there was some problem with the DNA, the way it was stored. I don't know. But what I do know is that the handprint was there. They should have been able to check the handprint against the security guard 44 years ago. Why did it take until 2018?
Yeah. And also another thing too is, what would motivate a suicide in this case? Okay, and that would indicate that he had some serious involvement, enough to be worried, right? Not just some peripheral involvement, but also too, suicide usually indicates that you want to keep your mouth shut. You don't want the story to get out.
Well, maybe. Then again, he was also old. Something like 72, 73. And perhaps they had evidence that, or he had guilt about the fact that he did, in fact, steal stuff from Arlen. Maybe he didn't want to have the embarrassment of revealing that he had masturbated over the corpse. This is all speculation, but why he committed suicide, I don't know. But why he might have, I can certainly speculate about. But still, I got to come back to the handprint. As far as I know, the handprint did not match Crawford. DNA did, maybe, but, the two separate pieces of evidence. One is on the candle, the other is on the prayer rug. Could there have been two people at the scene? One being the security guard after the fact? I have no idea. But it's a possibility. So for the police to make a blanket statement that the case is closed, it's solved, that it's over with, I don't think, in my opinion, that is appropriate.
Yeah, me neither. Okay. And now, the other clues that led you to your suspect, the composer, we'll call him, can you give us some other reasons why you're convinced it was him?
Well, I investigated some aspects of his behavior. He was famous for doing odd things at the school. For example, he would go to a performance by some other musician at a concert hall at Stanford, and he would feed hay into the piano while the other guy was playing. Or he would spend 45 minutes in a performance, quote unquote, standing on stage in front of hundreds of people popping bubble wrap. Of course, wearing the Afro wig, whether with the marching band or elsewhere. It's kind of an odd thing for a white guy. In any case, that was enough to make me feel that he was a kind of a strange guy. But then I listened to his music, and can't say I'm particularly fond of his music. It's pretty boring for me, but because I was trying to do real research, I listened to it all the way through, which is very long pieces, and in at least one of them, after 8 or 10 or 12 minutes of long musical or so-called musical performances, at the very end he says things like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. You're not like the others." So what does that sound like? To me, it tells you that the guy is an interesting guy in terms of the standpoint of being a possible suspect. So
when you looked into his
circumstance, I would check the handprint.
Yeah.
Can I repeat that enough? Check the handprint.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Now, what about in your research into this gentleman? He's a Grammy Award-winning composer. Am I correct?
That's what I'm told.
Yeah, award-winning guy, done a lot of composing, a lot of scores to TV shows and movies and stuff like that. Now, in your research,
he's also apparently won the Pulitzer.
Oh, really? Okay, that's another thing, Pulitzer. Now, do you notice anything about his fascination with Crowley or Thelema?
I have no direct understanding, knowledge of connections to Thelema or Crowley, other than the fact that I know that he lived within a short distance of one of the Thelema temples.
Did you ever try and contact the temple and see if he was a member?
By coincidence, somebody who was involved with Thelema talked to me about Thelema, but they never told me that they knew that that person of interest was actually a member of the temple or had ever visited. I'm just curious about the fact that there was a geographical coincidence of location between this suspect and the Thelema temple.
Okay. And there was also an incident too where he was...
And the fact that, and to go back to the idea that the Thelema connection falls in with the anniversary of Crowley, I think it was his birth, and the murder of Arliss Perry.
And since you've gone public, you were never contacted by Arliss Perry's husband or anything like that, or other investigators or researchers, anything?
No.
Huh. And it was also a bizarre thing. I know, I'm on the cutting edge, man. I'm on top of everything here. I don't let any clues slip by. Man. Thank you very much. There was an odd incident, too, with this composer that he was banned from Disneyland because they did some kind of stunt on a Disney ride.
That I've not heard about.
Yeah, okay, man, I might...
It wouldn't surprise me.
I think it was on that jungle cruise, the jungle boat thing that they do, that a bunch of guys got in there and they started acting up and they were banned from Disneyland, I believe. Because there was a chat room after we did our interview. There was a chat room discussion where people just pulled, they've caught this guy right away. When the clues you left us in the last interview, people were able to figure it out immediately. Brian, is there anything I've forgotten to ask you that you want to share with us, that you know about this case going on?
All I know is that I don't feel comfortable about the alleged summarily cited dismissal of the case. The fact that they're saying that it is done, that it's closed, that the Crawford guy is definitely the person who committed the murder of Arliss Perry. All I want to do is to find out if there was a match between the handprint and the other suspect. So, I can speculate all day long, and so can you, and so can everyone else.
Yeah.
But those are the two primary points, that is the DNA and the handprint, and perhaps the circumstantial evidence of the behavior of the person of interest. So I'm waiting for more information.
Okay, Brian, thank you so much. If anything comes up, you know where to find me. Okay, if you get any new information, okay, get a hold of me, man. Thank you so much.
I'm doing this off the cuff, and I'm ad-libbing, and I apologize for the fact that you can hear the cars going by. I literally pulled off the freeway so I could do this interview with Ed Offerman.
No, excellent. Your audio is excellent. Your presentation is excellent, man. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Good night. Okay, there you had Brian Mcrackin, eyewitness to an event in the church there where they later found the body of Arliss Perry hours later. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We just spent the last 45 minutes with Brian Mcrackin, who is an eyewitness to a bizarre scene of a naked girl on an altar in the church, a gentleman playing a flute with a afro wig on, that he later identified as being this famous composer now today. Eyewitness to this scenario, and then within hours, they find the dead body of Arliss Perry in this church at Stanford University. Now, let's start with this. I'm the only guy to interview Brian Mcrackin. Okay, I found him from the New York Post article, contacted him, found him. He came on the show, did an interview with me. Did about an hour. It's in the members section at OppermanReport.com. You can find that. Where we went over this detail by detail by detail. I think we spent 2 hours with him. Okay, going over the details of his story. And that was way back. Okay, that was a while back, or a little over a year. Since that time, we've been normal, everyday Facebook friends. You know, my daughter does something. He always has a nice comment, polite, professional. A lot of times I'll have guests on the show, and then they go on my Facebook, and, you know, and you say, well, you know, and they start acting a little weird. You know, they're a little weird, you know, and you say, well, you know, they've been through a lot. You know, they've been through a lot. They're a damaged person. They're a survivor. They're a little rough around the edges. And what do you call it? But you take your witnesses as they come. You know, and even though this witness has been through a lot of stuff, and now they're a little wacky, I still give credibility to the testimony that they recited to me. Now, with Brian Mcrackin, I can tell you, he's only been professional. He's only been stable in every possible way. Only been courteous. Only been logical, you know, and coherent. 100% of the time. I've seen nothing to indicate this guy is seeking publicity. I've seen nothing to indicate that he's fabricating things. Now, he could be wrong. It could be a mistake. Maybe he walked into the wrong church. Who knows? Maybe he dreamed it. Who knows? Okay, all of that's possible. But as far as his credibility,